Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out Malicious Compliance. Story 1. Malicious Compliance to a bank's arrogant savings plan. Apologies for not being very succinct, but TLDR at the end. Had to deal with a bank today and got pretty mad with their stupid procedures and bureaucracy, not the people that served me. I literally started thinking about petty compliance to one of the topics and how well banks have protected themselves with legal documents, and I remembered this golden story from my grandfather, may he rest in peace. Couple clarifications. A. We'll use the symbol dollar when referring to money, for ease, but this is on a local currency. B. The story is a fairly long way back in time. C. Back then salaries, monthly, would range between $170 up to $350, stretching the upper end a bit. The story. So my grandfather was at a point in his life, with a wife and couple of young kids, settled in an apartment and was working in a factory and painting houses. He was working more than 2 8-hour jobs, 6 days a week to provide as well as save money for the future and for the kids, and as it ended up the grandkids as well. So with about a double income, he was managing to put some money on the side each month. He had gone to one of the local banks, and opened up a savings account with a healthy interest, different times. He put in some money, about $5,000, and left it to grow. A year later he went and put in some more money and start a new plan for another year, and the guy told him to go with one of their new plans where the interest was 2.5%, up from under 2% on the normal end-of-year paying plan he had, and this new plan was paying every day the interest, as well as he could add money each month, instead of once a year, before starting a new plan. According to Grandpa, even the fine print didn't seem to have any negatives, so he went with it. About $7,000 at that point. 3 to 4 months go by and he goes in to add some money to the account and asks for the account movements to be updated. Back then, you had a booklet that they put in an old-style printer and it would add only what was not already printed, brand new tech back then. He gets his printout and it is 4 months of daily plus $0 interest added. When you do the math, 7,000 *0.025/365 you get about $0.48 per day, that was not being paid. He asked why after 4 months of daily payments his deposit was still the same, and the clerk smirked back that the amount was too small. The system was not calculating cents, just whole numbers. So with his amount being $7,000, his daily payment was $0.48 rounded to $0. He went to the director of the bank office and mentioned everything together with the fact that for over 100 days the bank had been keeping for itself 50 cents per day, and how was that allowed? Because it was robbing the customers, and the director just responded, within our bank, individual OFFICs have the right to operate semi-independently. This is why we are able to offer such a competitive interest rate, whilst our bank doesn't offer it officially. We are allowed to set some rules for ourselves. If you don't like, feel free to change your position. Change your position meaning not be so poor. According to my grandfather, he was furious and just stood up and left. Went back home and read all the fine prints of the contract again, only to find that information so vaguely written, that it could have been talking about weather temperature calculations. The malicious complaints. He read it once more and 2 days later he went back to that office bank. He added some money to get the amount to $7,450 and left. No complaints, nothing. He went back 4 days later to update his booklet with recent account movements, and the system was paying $1 every day. Since he confirmed this, he went to the other banks he had accounts. He was a smart man and did not want to keep all his money in one place, but now he was on a revenge mission. He took out all his money from the other banks and went back and opened up 2 more accounts with that exact same amount. He also got the bank to pay those interest payments in a separate account, making sure that the amount was just right at $7,450. So he started getting $3, $1 per account, every day. That was in a period when he was getting paid about $7 a day, for about 10 hours of work, or about 15, from his 2 jobs. This continued for so long, that with time passing and him saving more, he managed to get up to 8 such accounts, before they shut down that plan and changed it. According to him, that run for over 11 years. The way this worked was him pretty much netting a 5% interest rate, of the stupidity and arrogance of the bank, just because most people had under $7,000 in savings, so everyone subscribed on that plan was getting robbed, whatever they were owed. He said that the interest rate fluctuated up and down a bit, so he ended up getting the amounts up at 8K, just so he would be losing money when the rate was falling lower. He said that according to his calculations he netted about $11,000 over what his money should have earned with that APY of 2.5%. TLDR, long time ago, my grandfather opened a savings account at a bank with a daily interest payment, but bank was robbing people by rounding to whole numbers and paying $0 per day. So he calculated exactly what was needed to be earning 51 cents per day, so it would be round to $1, earning him double money, double effective interest rate. Story 2. Her son measured it. When I was a teenager I worked at a popular department store. This was in the late 1980s, so no internet, electronic catalogs, etc. to look up product specs. A customer came in and bought an entertainment center. At the time these were quite large because the only TVs available were the tube type. The measurements for the finished entertainment center are printed on the box. This customer's son wrote down the measurements and then measured the inside of the back seat and determined it would fit. He did not measure the box, which has styrofoam on the ends to protect the ends of the pieces, making the box longer than the maximum finished dimension. One of my jobs was assisting customers load heavy items into their car. Well, the box didn't fit. It was very clear the box would not fit as the car door would not close. All this time customer kept saying it had to fit because her son measured it. She would not let it go. I offered to take it out of the box, but that was a no. I offered to hold it until she could bring a different vehicle, still no. It had to fit because her son measured it. So I had one end of the box on the ledge by the window and then forced the door on my side closed. The other window shattered. She looked super pissed, but before she could say anything, I just said I'll get a manager and made my escape. The only thing that happened to me was I got a verbal warning. Story 3. The Great Assignment Email Saga of 2022. Ladies, gentlemen, and the dice, gather around for a story of malicious compliance from me, 20F, from my final year of college. I shall start with some backstory. I went to college when I was 17, I studied equine behavior and training and took business classes on the side. I've been brought up with horses my whole life. My family have horses and I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do for a career, so thought I'd stick with something I know and enjoy. Now, on my final year of college we had an assignment we had to do, just a paper on insurances within the equine industry. I emailed it in a couple of days before the deadline, which was in October. 1 month into the final year of the course. I would like to note that my teacher replied to said email with completed and attached assignment thanking me for getting it in early. Then proceeded to live my normal college life until December, when just before Christmas break I had an email from my teacher complaining that I hadn't handed in said assignment from October. Luckily I kept it on a USB stick, so popped it into my laptop, emailed it to her and wished her happy holidays. I thought perhaps she had just misplaced the email among emails from other students, not the end of the world. Fast forward another few months to April, I received yet another email from her saying I still hadn't sent her the insurance assignment from October. So once again I sent the assignment along with screenshots of the previous times I'd sent it to her. This time she did not reply to the email but thanked me next time she saw me in class for finally getting my assignment in. I shrugged it off and carried on about my life until June. 1 month before I finished college I had an email from her again saying it was my last chance to get the assignment from October in or I would fail that class of the course. I began to get angry at that point, so I thought to myself, fine, I'll make sure you get the assignment. I feel that this is a good time to point out that I was staying in dorms on campus as I went to a college far from home. Teachers from a variety of courses and classes took turns living in the dorms rooms as wardens just in case there was some form of emergency and one of us needed something. therefore they also have to have their phone notifications turned on at all times so that should anyone need anything they can reliably be contacted no matter the time of day or night. Miss, I lost your email, so I'll accuse you of never sending it. Happened to be wardening that night, so before I went to bed I went into my emails and set it so that an email with the assignment attached and the screenshots of the previous emails would be sent to her and the head of the equine department every 5 to 10 minutes. I scattered them so that every now and again she'd hit the 5 minutes mark and think it had stopped, then receive another one a few minutes later, from 3 to 4:30 am, all with titles like, "Just wanted to be sure you got my assignment, just double checking you definitely have spare copies this time," and such, and then had the best night's rest I'd had in a while. The following morning I got breakfast at the dining hall and got to class early to find her sat at her desk looking rather tired, clutching her coffee. She looked at me as I sat down and apologized for me having to stay up so late to get the assignment in and thanked me for sending it to her, and that because I had finished all my other assignments as long as I sat the exam the following week I wouldn't have to attend any more classes and could go home for the rest of the term and had essentially finished my course. So I got to finish college a little early and get my point across. Story 4. Do nothing all night for a ton of OT. Yep, why not? Little bit of backstory. I worked at the time in an oil change place. They had recently moved managers from salaried to hourly, because some managers in different cities were just lying and not going to work while getting the same check every payday, and I warned them that if anything, my pay was gonna go way up because I'm here a lot more than 40 hours a week. They were good with that, they said. Well, one night I get a call at 7 p.m., 2 HRS after close, from one of my guys who was in the shop after hours without permission, and crashed into a bay door, like a garage door. All auto shops have at least a few. He got fired. That's not the MC at all, just set up. So I came in and investigated. The most relevant fact here was that he bent the door so there was a maybe 4-inch by 4-inch gap. A house cat could have squeezed through. I called our door repair guys immediately. They said their folks were on an emergency after hours call already, to somewhere 5 hours away. They could be there in the morning. I said okay, since this wasn't a danger. The door was in a place not visible from the street. You'd have to be behind our building looking for this kind of this to find it. Alarm still sets, motion detectors still work. Anyone that broke in through this metal door with a 4 gap would have needed tools, and was gonna get in even without the gap. We don't even keep more than $100 cash around, and anything expensive to steal was equipment bolted to the floor. Deal with it tomorrow, right? Obviously, no. Called my boss to fill him in and he said to call the door guys. I told him I did already and tried to explain their situation. He interrupted and told me in super rude and loud words, this dickhead did not like being called after work or having to do any work ever, just to call them and not bother him again about it. Then texted me to rudely say that I better damned well stay there until they arrive and finish the repair. So, since I was single, had no plans, and was now paid hourly, I clocked in the instant I arrived. Initially, I decided this sounded like easy money. Pulled up 2 comfy office chairs to make a bed/couch, watched YouTube, and did assorted internet scrolling. Slept at normal times pretty comfortably all the way to 8 am. They showed up around 9 and fixed the problem pretty quickly. I was already on my regularly scheduled 8 to 5 shift that day, which I finished. So now let's do the math. That overnight waiting? 7 p.m. to 8 am, 13 hours. All OT at time and a half. Then my normal shift. 9 hours, all at time and a half. So 22 hours asterisk 1.5 equals 33 hours of pay for doing my normal shift plus internet scrolling and napping. That was barely even an inconvenience. My boss sees it come payday and tries to give me a yelling over email for trying to rip off the company, CCing all the big bosses, HR, payroll, etc. I reply to all, explain the situation, include the text screenshot. Suddenly I'm not the one getting yelled at anymore and I got every bit of that OT pay, smiley face. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.